he is talking to Einstein.
I don't know if in heaven there is any alcohol available. German beer, maybe. If there is, I intend to celebrate it. There are things which I was taught in school when I was a child which took me more than 50 years to comprehend. Simple things like the magic of numbers, the tables, I found them all terrifying when I was a child. While teaching my own sons the things I hated as a child, I suddenly realized the fantastic patterns that there are in the numbers.
On relativity.
The relativity, in fact, this is about the relativity when he's asked about, can you explain relativity in one sentence? So he says, all right, for you, relativity in one sentence. According to Newton, if all matter disappeared from the universe, time and space would still be left. According to relativity, time and space would get thrown out with everything else. You did not understand? All right. If you sit on a hot stove for a minute, it will feel like an hour, but if you talk to a pretty girl for an hour, it will feel like a minute. That is relativity in one sentence, in a language you understand.
The genius on being a genius.
I think any person who considers himself a genius is probably very foolish. I don't think it's up to you to decide whether you are a genius, and I don't think that is something which can be determined in the course of your life anyway. It is something which the assessment of which you should rather leave to posterity. I prefer to do that, and I'm confident about my place in posterity.
On today's world.
It's going the way I foresaw. I could foresee time travel, which hasn't even happened yet. So all these things which are happening, where you can carry your world around in your hip pocket, it had to happen. Things are getting more and more. The world is getting condensed. Differences are disappearing, which is a good thing. At the same time, hatreds are also getting aggravated. Assertion of identities, strangely, the differences, there seem to be a large number of people who seem to pride themselves on asserting their identity as different from others and doing pretty unspeakable things.
On the future.
I'm pretty certain that in another 100 years or so, we may have completely destroyed everything that we consider beautiful and wonderful today, and may have developed a different concept of beauty. Maybe emptiness, barrenness, devastation will begin to look beautiful to us after 100 years, because that certainly seems to be the way we are heading, and there is no small guilt that I carry in having contributed to this possibility. They'll find out a lot more things before the human race is through with the earth. I'm sure they'll find out that tobacco is very good for you in a few years. Eating beef is excellent for your cholesterol, and all this green salads and stuff are rubbish. I'm sure they'll discover all that. And that just about everything causes cancer, except backcombing your hair, maybe.
On the bomb.
I think at the end of my life I was pretty devastated by the effects of my lifetime's work having been used mainly for destructive purposes. It's not a small weight to carry around. It's not a comforting thought to die with. But I should have been smart enough to know that it would lead to this. I suppose I considered myself another Leonardo da Vinci who could make plans for a submarine and destroy it blithely. I thought that could happen. Unfortunately, it didn't. Submarine was not needed in Da Vinci's time. I suppose the world needed the atom bomb when I was around. So it's not a comforting thought to go to sleep with.
Is there a God?
The word God is often used as a substitute for everything that we find incomprehensible. And there is so much. You cannot find another word to describe it. God is just as incomprehensible as the limits of the solar system and beyond, which we are never ever going to find out about. So I am amused at people who spend their lives worrying about whether there is a God or not. Does it really matter? and if he's there, do you think he has the time to watch over each and every one of us and rap our knuckles every time we do something naughty? If he does exist, I'm sure he has more pressing matters on his mind. But I do not hold with the randomness of events. There is a unified field. This is what I always believed through my life. And this is something which will never either be proved or disproved, like the existence of God. It's like your Archbishop of Canterbury and Richard Dawkins, the great atheist, having a debate on TV, and neither of them coming out right. And at the end, the Archbishop said something which stumped Dawkins, and Dawkins says, "Oh God." So there you are. I think any person who's asked to describe God will describe a perfect version of himself.
On physics, in film.
It's becoming more and more like fantasies, these movies. I suppose that is where they were meant to be, what they were meant to be initially, and they've really become that in every single way. Initially, they were supposed to provide you with a world which didn't exist. Now they take you into a world which exists, and it's like virtual reality. Seeing the film Gravity, you feel you've experienced that whole thing.
The evolution of man.
Over many thousands of years, we're going to develop a stoop. Unless we have mobile phones implanted in our brains by then. But this, reaching into the pocket and this has become the human posture. It's worrisome. People walking around talking to themselves is no longer considered unusual. People having a heated quarrel while standing on the middle of the street with an earphone. But at least people stay in touch.
On human intelligence.
Going to the moon was pretty pointless, actually. It's. I thought the car would be replaced by a more efficient, silent means of transport, but it's gotten worse. So that's a bad thing. But communication, the lines of mediums of communication have improved. It's great to be able to see anything you want to see at any time, gain any information you need to gain at any time. It's all at your fingertips.
Who should play you in a biopic?
There's this actor in India, I believe, who looks a lot like me. We might make a one on my meeting with Gandhi. Then he could play both of us.
On being famous.
All I had to do was stick my tongue out and wink at the camera and meet Charlie Chaplin, and everybody took a photograph of me, and then I suddenly became known as this eccentric, this lovable eccentric who walks around the street barefoot or something like that. All carefully cultivated. Careful carelessness.
On romance.
Anybody who can kiss a pretty girl while driving a car is obviously not paying enough attention to the kiss or to the driving. Okay.
Fan on. Thank you.